Hello students, here we are going to deal with Charles Hockett design features of language. Hockett says that whenever a linguistic communication takes place, there are 4 ingredients. These ingredients are users, a message, a code, and a signal. And he says that every linguistic event has these features that he analyzed and developed. So we are going to deal with them. As I have already said, the ingredients in every linguistic communications are users, a message, a code, and a signal. Why does he say that? Here we have, according to Hockett, users transmit messages to each other by encoding them into a signal. So there we have the 4 elements: the messenger, the users, the messages, a code, and a signal. Here we have Hockett's table. He developed this table in order to explain the design features of human language. Each feature belongs to one of the ingredients. So, for instance, we have the users. The users have 4 different design features: specialized, interchangeable, sensitive to feedback, and interactive. Those 4 features belong to the users. Then we have the message. The message has also 3 features. The message is meaningful, the message is productive, and is displayed from here and now. Then we are going to develop these features in a deeper way in this presentation, but later on. The code. The code is discrete, arbitrary, and hierarchical. We have already seen some of these features. We are not going to focus very deeply in the ones that we have already been dealing before, but we are going to mention them. And the signal. The signal is modality specific. It is one-to-many broadcast. It has directional reception and rapid fading as one of the features. So these 4 features belong to the signal according to Hockett. We have these 3 other features that were included in 1968 by Hockett, but then they were eliminated by some other linguists. Prevarication and reflexiveness, they were not included because they are considered uses of the human language, not features of it. For instance, prevarication is the ability to tell lies, and besides that it is a use of language, there are some monkeys that also use the different calls that they produce to deceive other monkeys or other animals. So prevarication was eliminated. Learnability is considered a byproduct of human interaction because as we learn language in a social context, learnability is a byproduct of this cultural transmission of language. That's why learnability was also eliminated. And as I mentioned at the beginning of this slide, reflexiveness is considered a use of language, a way of using language, not a feature of it. First, we are going to focus on the users. When we focus on the users, we have already said that there are different features. First, we have here interchangeable. This is very easy to understand. Whenever a linguistic event is taking place, we, every human being, have the ability to perform both roles. We can be sender and receiver, and these roles are interchangeable. So we can change them all the time. To feedback. When you are producing language, when you are speaking, you are paying attention all the time to what you are saying, to your tone of voice, to the word choice that you are using, and you are adapting them to the context, to what you want to say, to your ideas and your thoughts. And the same happens when you have an audience. You try to adapt your speech, your tone of voice, and your word choice to what the people are expecting. Have this other feature that is interactive. Language is interactive, as we have already said in previous lessons. We learn language in contact with other people because language has a cultural element that allows us to acquire language. That's why, as it says in the slide, cultural transmission is crucial to acquiring language. Specialized. Specializing for speech production and perception. Linguistic communication is a highly specialized behavior. You can't mistake it for anything else. When we speak, we use our vocal tract, our auditory system, and all the elements that we use to produce and to perceive language are very specialized, and they are used for a particular purpose. Focus on the message. The message also has different features. Making meaningful messages. This is when we use language, we want our messages to be meaningful, to convey some meaning. This is the design feature that is known also as semanticity. It is a fundamental, to transmit meaningful messages is also a fundamental aspect of animal communication. But this use of meaning to maintain a social structure, which is fundamental to all social animals, is nothing compared to the human ability to combine meaningful elements into an almost unlimited number of grammatical structures. Think about fiction, about books, about songs, about everything. We can create an endless number of meaningful messages, and animals, on the contrary, they can use this transmission of messages in a way that is mainly focused on maintaining the social structure that they already have. Productivity. We have already dealt with this feature. That is, the human language is creative, is productive. We can create an endless number of new messages, and this is very closely connected with the previous feature. That is, when we create meanings, we are also creating new messages. They are very, very closely connected. So we have the ability to produce an endless number of new words, new sentences, new phrases, books, text, and whatever we want to create through language. Here we have a Hockett quotation. This is the feature of displacement. We have already dealt with this also. And here we have Hockett saying that there is a sense in which productivity, displacement, and duality can be regarded as the crucial or nuclear central properties of human language. Why is that? What is displacement? As we have the ability to talk about things that are not here and now, things that are not present, things that are in the past or in the future, or abstract ideas, this also allows us to create new messages, new words, new phrases, and also this is connected with semanticity because we have the ability to produce new meanings. So these features are really, really important. Okay, now we are going to focus on the code. The code. Why language is a code? Language is a very, very specific code, as we have already said, but mainly because when we are in a linguistic event, we need to understand understanding the code implies, as it says here in the slide, two enormous, monumental tasks. The linguistic code interacts with both speech perception and production. And the linguistic code is a system of signs in which a sign's meaning is defined in terms of its relations with other signs. So, in order to produce language, we need to process the words in our brain and to transform those ideas into words, and then we have to adapt those ideas and produce them through our vocal tract, to using our lungs, our tongue, our larynx, and all those elements. So it is a very, very specific process. And in the same way, when we are perceiving language, we need to understand the signs that the other person is producing. We need to hear them, understand them. We need to make an internal process in our brain and transform those signs that the other person is using in some meaningful message for us. So it is a very, very complex process, understanding the code. So here, regarding the code, one of the features of the code is arbitrariness. We have already dealt with this feature previously. Is the no-natural relationship between the linguistic sign and the element that the linguistic sign is naming. For instance, there is no natural connection between the word cat and the animal. It is a relationship that is culturally established. Hierarchical organization, okay, we have already dealt with this too. Hierarchical organization is this feature of language that allows us to create from the minimal elements in a language to produce larger units, combining, for instance, we combine the phonemes into morphemes, into words, into phrases and sentences. So we have a hierarchical organization that it was also called the duality, because from the individual meaningless units, we can create an unlimited set of meaningful elements as words, phrases, sentences, and so on. Here we have the feature of discreteness. This is closely connected with the hierarchical organization, because this implies that the larger units, the complex and larger units and messages, can be broken down into smaller and discrete parts. For instance, the word pad, as we see here, can be broken down into the smaller pieces that are P, A, and T. To deal with the signal. In order to convey a linguistic meaning from one person to another, we need to transmit a physical sign of some sort. This means that producing and perceiving signals use one or more sensory modalities. That is, that we need to perceive and to produce language in order to understand it. And also we need to understand the parallel messages that the person is sending. And also we have to take into account that there are some restrictions on broadcasting the signals, but we are going to deal with that later on some other slides. In the signal, we have specific modalities. To talk to someone, you have to be able to communicate across the physical gap between you and the other person. Also, you want your communication to be efficient when necessary. For instance, if you are being robbed, you want, and you are asking for help, you want that communication to be really efficient and quickly. And also, you can communicate without having to stop doing whatever else you are doing. For instance, you are cooking and you can communicate, you can talk at the same time. And something that is also important is that you can enhance your speech by including some visual or tactile or face signals to boost the transmission. Broadcasting the signal one-to-many. Most of the situations in which we are involved in a face-to-face communication with one person. When we are talking with another person, we are in a one-to-one communication. But there are some cases, as teaching, as a TV transmission, as a speech, when a politician is giving a speech, in which the signal is transmitted from one to many, as we can see in this image. Here we also have this other feature of the signal, that is directional reception. This feature is, as it says here, language is a signal and it's sent in all directions, but it is perceived in a limited direction. For instance, the signal you produce goes off in all directions, as I have already said, but listeners know that it came just from you. This feature is very useful when we are for instance, in a party and there are a lot of people there and that are talking all at the same time. This feature of directional perception works even when you don't understand the content of the signal. You know that somebody is talking to you even though you don't understand the language. For instance, if a Japanese people is talking to you, you realize that that person is talking to you because of the directional reception, but you can't understand what that person is saying to you. That is a very important feature. Finally, we have rapid fading related to the features of the signal. This feature is related with temporality, and it means that when we produce oral language, oral speech, this leaves no trace. We said the words, they hang around just some minutes, seconds, and they disappear completely. This feature of the signal was later on solved by the use of writing, but that is another topic. Okay, and finally here you have a video that I would like you to see. It's short, it's 4 or 5 minutes.
All animals communicate. Crabs wave their claws at each other to signal that they're healthy and ready to mate.
And human language.
Cuttlefish
Do
use
animals
pigmented
have
skin
languages,
cells called chromatophores
or they
to create
just
patterns on
communicate?
their
So
skin
I would like you
that
to
act as
see
camouflage
this video and to
or
think
warnings to
about
rivals.
the things that are
Honeybees perform
presented here.
complex dances
And well,
to let other bees know the location and quality of a food source. All of these animals have impressive communication systems, but do they have language? To answer that question, we can look at 4 specific qualities that are often associated with language: discreteness, grammar, productivity, and displacement. Discreteness means that there is a set of individual units, such as sounds or words, that can be combined to communicate new ideas. Like a set of refrigerator poetry magnets you can rearrange to create different phrases. Grammar provides a system of rules that tells you how to combine those individual units. productivity is the ability to use language to create an infinite number of messages. And displacement is the ability to talk about things that aren't right in front of you, such as past, future, or fictional events. So, does animal communication exhibit any of these qualities? For crabs and cuttlefish, the answer is no. They don't combine their signals in creative ways. Those signals also don't have to be in a grammatical order. And they only communicate current conditions, like I am healthy or I am poisonous. But some animals actually do display some of these properties. Bees use the moves, angle, duration, and intensity of their waggle dance to describe the location and richness of a food source. That source is outside the hive, so they exhibit the property of displacement. They share that language trait with prairie dogs, which live in towns of thousands and are hunted by coyotes, hawks, badgers, snakes, and humans. Their alarm calls indicate the predator's size, shape, speed, and even for human predators, what the person is wearing and if he's carrying a gun. Great apes like chimps and gorillas are great communicators too. Some have even learned a modified sign language. A chimpanzee named Washoe demonstrated discreetness by combining multiple signs into original phrases, like please open, hurry. Coco, a female gorilla who understands more than 1,000 signs and around 2,000 words of spoken English, referred to a beloved kitten that had died. In doing so, she displayed displacement, though it's worth noting that the apes in both of these examples were using a human communication system, not one that appeared naturally in the wild. There are many other examples of sophisticated animal communication, such as in dolphins, which use whistles to identify age, location, names, and gender. They can also understand some grammar in a gestural language researchers use to communicate with them. However, grammar is not seen in the dolphin's natural communication. While these communication systems may have some of the qualities of language we've identified, none display all four. Even Washoe and Coco's impressive abilities are still outpaced by the language skills of most 3-year-old humans. And animals' topics of conversation are usually limited. Bees talk about food, prairie dogs talk about predators, and crabs talk about themselves. Human language stands alone due to the powerful combination of grammar and productivity on top of discreteness and displacement. The human brain can take a finite number of elements and create an infinite number of messages. We can craft and understand complex sentences, as well as words that have never been spoken before. We can use language to communicate about an endless range of subjects, talk about imaginary things, and even lie. Research continues to reveal more and more about animal communication. It may turn out that human language and animal communication aren't entirely different, but exist on a continuum. After all, we are all animals.
That's all for today. Thank you. Bye-bye.